Let's take a close look at this Vepr 12, a 12 gauge shotgun based off the RPK. So I guess to begin with, we've got the magazine that came with it. This one is as you would purchase it in a sporting configuration. It's as it's imported into the country. This is just out of the box. So it comes with a 5-round magazine, I believe, and seems fairly well constructed. I haven't seen any bad reviews of them so far. We've got some sheet metal to reinforce the rear of the mag, and those are also the lips on the metal part of a shotgun shell. So looking at the rifle, obviously it's an AK or an RPK in this case. Let's start up at the muzzle. We've got the detachable muzzle brake, or we have threaded barrel, so we have a removable threaded protector, which could be a brake. I think there's also chokes available for these, so that's a plus. Length of the barrel is annoying. U.S. Federal law requires that you'd have to register it for anything under 18 inches, so it's at 18 inches. Once you've got it though, and you're holding it, the balance and everything, it's unwieldy, but it's not a lot of weight out here, so it's not too bad. Coming back, we have a gas block that's integrated with the front sight in a 90-degree type of block, which is cool. Pinned, as opposed to some of the furniture on some of the other rifles, like this Sega rifle. The furniture is just pressed on, so these dimples are a big machine that just comes in and presses the fixtures to the barrel. And that's not good or bad. I guess it's a little bit tougher to deal with when you're modifying them. So these are just pins at the bottom there to install the furniture. Coming back, we have the upper and lower handguard, are the new modern AK-74M or AK Century series. You can't get any more legit. These are basically, I'm sure, either the very same, maybe not the same because of the size of the barrel, but made on the same machinery, same molds and everything, well, the same process as the current RPK handguard. So if you can't get a modern RPK, which we can't real easily, at least, or pretty much at all, this is a close runner-up. And it's as we look through it here, it's on a pretty decent platform. So coming back a little bit further, we've got the trunnion in the rear sight block. It disassembles pretty much similar to an AK, so we have its disassembly lever there. It has an RPK style rear receiver. Makes sense, it's made in the same factory. The RPK style means that it's adjustable, both windage and elevation here at the rear. Now we can still drift and change the height of the front sight like any AK. It's just the standard pin and then screw going up and down. But on the rear, on an RPK, because they're designed for different use, I suppose, you've got this adjustable, you just pull this pin and adjust left to right, and then of course your up and down adjustment there. So it's just a little bit bigger than a standard AK rear sight, same principle, marked out to 1,000 meters, and in a kind of a two-tone, so it's this like parkerized looking finish. And I guess that looks kind of cool against the rest of it, which is probably the parkerization with a black paint. And the rear sight block, a little bit different shape than an AK, but overall real similar. Then we've got the rear trunnion, and can't get anything cooler than an official Molat factory trunnion. It's interesting, I just noticed it looks like they're welded, the trunnion to the rear sight block, and that might be, if that's the same on Segas, then maybe that's why they don't consider these shotguns to have a trunnion, even though there is a trunnion right there. Then we've got the unique bolt pattern, or rivet pattern, that's kind of neat. We've got the bulged trunnion and receiver that we'd expect from an RPK. We can see that it's made at the Molat factory in Poliani, and then imported by WPA, Wolf Performance Arms. We can see the spot welds are pretty cool. That's what a modern Russian RPK spot welds would look like. Now I haven't taken it apart to see what's going on with the rivets and pins holding the trigger group in, but it looks like we've got a center support or two, and I don't know where the full auto would be on this modern one, so we'd have to do another video on taking it apart and looking at inside the trigger group there. But we can see the trigger is a single hook. We just got the notch on one side, and it's interesting because the trigger guard comes down and rivets straight to the receiver. Has nothing to do with the mag well. So that's interesting, a little different than the rifles for sure, and a little different than the Sega shotgun. Let's not keep going further. Let's go back to this mag well. So it's polymer and super strong. Looks like it attaches with a screw up here and a screw back here. So I thought about, if that gets bumped or smashed or something and breaks, it looks like it is a replaceable part. We've got the Molat Vepr 12 model number there, 12 by 76, the crazy Russian way of saying 12 gauge. I think that's saying 12 gauge 3-inch. So they say that in European metric, but then we got an S and an F for safe and fire. So safe, the selector's up in the safe position, where the bolt carrier physically cannot come back to chamber around. It can come back this far to do a chamber check, but since it's not coming back far enough to strip a shell, in this case, off the magazine, that's a physical safety as well as mechanical. And then we can come down to the fire position. I have no idea why it moved forward there. And this gives us the full length of the opening in the dust cover, so that that charging handle and the bolt carrier can come all the way back, opening up the bolt for the mag to give us a shell. So then we've got the selector. It's worth talking about the selector a little bit. So, see it in the light here. We've got the standard stuff up front that we'd expect to see, but in the back we've got this angled and winged. Not sure how well it's coming up with the lighting there, but you can see there's the wing, and it's got this downward arm. So that's going to allow us, with pretty easy effort, the ability to click the selector from safe to fire easily from a good shooting grip. Real easy to put it on safety. You just have to take your finger off the trigger and adjust just a bit if you were only doing it with your fingers. But let's flip it over, and we've got another attachment on this side of the safety selector that you can see moves back and forth. So again, with a right-handed shooter and your hand on the with a shooting grip, you can, it's possible to almost possible to move it back. Oh, I'm trying to do it the wrong way. So it's possible to move it back. It's super easy if I give it just a little bit of assistance though, and then it's super easy to push forward. So pushing it forward, no assistance, and just a little bit of assistance to get it to move backwards. But while that's not so big a deal for a right-handed shooter, let's bring it over to a left-handed shooter, and at least now it's still legal for left-handed people to shoot. You can easily do it with your thumb, plenty of leverage on the thumb, but then also the ability to do it over here like you would an AR. And I think a lot of left-handed people are going to be used to the manual of arms of having their AR selector over there, or their AR safety over there. So interesting controls. Let's keep moving back. Pistol grip is the new pistol grip, so love it or hate it. I'm not the biggest fan of the finger grooves on rifles. I don't mind them so much on pistols, but yeah, I have a big hand. I don't know what they're thinking with this. It's okay for me, but I'm sure people with smaller hands are going to complain about the size of these scallops, and I'm not sure if they're trying to do something for gloves or what, but take it or leave it. I believe you can take this off and swap it with any pistol grip you might want. Looks like it's just a plug insert here, no kind of storage or anything. Next up, we've got this little switchy thing, which probably has to do with the folding stock. I haven't fully explored that because there's this little bit of a spot weld right here. And that little bit of a spot weld is enough for, well, at least enough to comply with our import regulations. So for whatever reason, I believe it was in the 60s, I have to do a bit more research on or remind myself, but there was a point where they decided a folding stock was too much of a military item. No sporting rifle would need a folding stock, so they can no longer be imported in a folding configuration. These are imported welded shut, but with all the internal springs and everything. So we'll talk about it in other videos, but if I was to do the 922R modifications to this so that changing the stock wouldn't take it out of compliance, then you just break the spot weld and you then have a folding stock. So there's a stock. It's pretty decent, nice solid metal tubes, solid plastic and rubber butt plate on it with a little bit of texture and a little bit of give. So, you know, a good combination, a good solid useful stock. Then with the metal tubes, very strong. Got this little, I don't know what to call it, cheek rest that can pivot. You have a plunger here and a pin back here somewhere. So you basically push that spring-loaded plunger in, adjust it to where you want, and then where's that pin? It comes back in and sits on the pin. So you can set it kind of up for a right-handed shooter, up for a left-handed shooter, and then I think just out of the way. And I think you can do that on either side. So once you would fold it, you'd probably just put that out of the way on that side and wouldn't be in the way too much. Let's talk about the dust cover. It's hinged at the front, at the back of the rear sight block, sort of like a crank, and a lock in the back like a Yugo would have. So you have to push down on the lock and then in. The top cover pivots up. What that offers is an anchor point up here and an anchor point back here, which should give us a fairly sturdy mount or foundation for this rail, which is the foundation for our optics. Now, I don't normally run optics, but the good folks over at Tucson Guns were kind of getting sick of me always doing videos without any kind of optic on it, so they hooked me up with this one for a good price. And we'll just take its little rubber covers out of the way, and we'll turn it on to the super bright setting, which should be a little easier to see on the video. And I think you can see that even with this inexpensive Bushnell optic on it, which has sort of a covered or thing down here at the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock position that's sort of blocking it, even with that thing blocking it, you can see the rear sights here and you can see the front post. So I can see straight through this at a lower third. So it's not quite in the halfway of the up and down, it's about a third. And that's pretty decent considering this thing has nothing to do with the Vepr at all, just happens to work right on its rail. So that leads me to believe an Aimpoint T1, which this is, you know, mimicking, should fit on here as well. And you can see with that red dot, the holographic type of optics like this, you keep both eyes open and you basically just see that red dot, and whenever that red dot is on target, that's where you're hitting. Now, it's good enough to work on a rifle, so on a shotgun it must be, you know, definitely up to the task. The issue would be recoil, so we'll have to see what it's like having excuse me, we'll have to see what it's like with the recoil on this one, but I've seen some other reviews and so far people are having pretty good luck with it. Obviously with the rail though, you're not restricted to just this one optic, so I suspect, you know, whatever your flavor of optic that you prefer is going to work just fine with this one. Now, it's not the best mounting type. There is the potential for it to rock just a little bit still, but compared to the Sega, which has a Soviet optics rail on the side, which allows a mount to come in and hold an optic up on top, that's a nice way to go. The disadvantage is with a right folding or the side folding stock over on the right like this, it wouldn't be able to close. It would need an opening here to accommodate that. The Veprs just don't have that. They went with this dust cover, this attached dust cover. So I think we've looked at most of the little points about the Vepr 12. I think there are still probably some available new in the box from distributors. This one is from Arms of America. We always want to give them a nod. They've been working with us for almost a decade now, and they help keep our stuff online. They help keep stuff like this in front of the camera, so we want to thank them. Like I said, I think they might have a couple available, at least when I'm filming this. Otherwise, there's always going to be the used market. These are neat rifles or shotguns, and I suspect they're always going to be highly sought after. I was going to do some research into the modifications to it, but now that I've looked at it, there's no way I'm taking it out of this original Russian configuration. We will talk about 922R parts for it, however, such things as changing out the trigger, the gas piston, or the whatever it's called, the little wafer, and we'll discuss putting a U.S. pistol grip on it so that those parts allow us to use U.S. mags, high capacity or higher capacity mags, which is really the issue with this one. So obviously, if you have any questions, concerns, let us know wherever you see this video in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.